Here's a question I want you to sit with for a second. Why would a detail as small as what kind of fire someone built end up in the Bible at all? Not whether there was a fire, what kind of fire, the fuel, whether it was wood or brush or charcoal. That seems like the kind of thing you'd edit out, a throwaway detail. And yet, in one of the most important scenes in the entire Gospel of John, the writer stops and tells us specifically that it was a charcoal fire. He chooses that word on purpose. And once you understand why, you will never read the story the same way again. Welcome to Now It Makes Sense. I'm Dr. William Attaway, and this is the show where we go back to the world the Bible was actually written in, so that what these ancient words meant then can finally make sense now. No background required, no prior faith assumed, just honest questions and a story that's far richer than most of us were ever told. So let me set the scene. It's after the crucifixion, after the resurrection. The disciples, these men who had left everything to follow Jesus, are back in Galilee, back by the water. And honestly, they don't really know what to do with themselves. So Peter does the thing he knows how to do. He says, "I'm going fishing." And the others go with him. They fish all night. They catch nothing. And then, just as the sun is coming up, there's a figure standing on the shore. They can't quite make him out in the early light. He calls out to them, "Children, do you have any fish?" And tells them to throw their net on the other side of the boat. They do. And suddenly the net is so full, they can't haul it in. That's when one of them realizes who it is. It's the Lord. And Peter, this is so Peter. Peter doesn't wait for the boat. He throws himself into the water and swims for shore. Now here's the line I want you to hear. When they get to land, John tells us they see a charcoal fire already burning with fish on it and bread. In Greek, the word for that charcoal fire is anthrakia. You can hear our English word anthracite in there. Anthracite, the hard coal. Here's what almost no one notices. That word, anthrakia, appears only twice in the entire New Testament. Look at all four Gospels, all four biographies of Jesus, all the letters, all of it. That word only appears twice. And both times, it's in the Gospel of John. And both times, it involves Peter. The second time is here, on the beach, with the risen Jesus. The first time was just a few chapters earlier, on the worst night of Peter's life. Let me take you back there. The night Jesus was arrested, Peter followed at a distance. He slipped into the courtyard of the high priest, trying not to be noticed. And John tells us it was cold, so cold that the servants and officials had made a fire to keep warm. A charcoal fire. Anthrakia. Peter stands there in the glow of that fire. And 3 times that night, people look at him and say, "Aren't you one of his followers? Weren't you with him?" And 3 times, Peter says no. I'm not. That third time, when he was confronted by a teenage servant girl, he denies even knowing Jesus. And immediately, a rooster crows in the distance. Peter remembers that Jesus had told him this would happen. And he goes out and he weeps bitterly. That's the last time we see Peter before the cross. A man standing by a charcoal fire, denying he ever knew the person he loved most in the world. Every time he smelled that smell, Peter remembered his failure. Now, come back to the beach. The fishing is done. The sun is up. And there is Jesus. He is alive and he is standing next to a charcoal fire. That same word. The same specific sensory detail. I want you to think about what a smell can do. You know this from your own life, the smell of a particular meal. You are standing in your mom's kitchen. Smell is the sense most tightly wired to memory. It bypasses your thinking brain and it goes straight to the part of you that feels. So when Peter walks up onto that beach and he smells the charcoal fire, the exact kind of fire he was standing beside when he denied Jesus 3 times, what do you think happened inside of him? This is not an accident. Jesus could have grilled that fish any number of ways. John could have left that detail out. Instead, the text plants us right back into the memory of Peter's deepest failure. But here's the turn. Here's why this is one of the most beautiful scenes in all of Scripture. My personal favorite. After they eat, Jesus turns to Peter and he asks him a question. Simon, son of John, do you love me? Peter says, yes, Lord, you know that I love you. And Jesus says, feed my lambs. And then he asks again, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Yes, Lord, you know that I love you. And Jesus said, take care of my sheep. And then, a third time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And the text says Peter was grieved that Jesus asked him a third time. 3 questions by a charcoal fire, matching 1 for 1 the 3 denials by a charcoal fire. Do you see what Jesus is doing? He's not rubbing Peter's nose in his failure. He's doing the opposite. He's walking Peter back to the exact place of the wound. The same setting, the same smell, the same number of times. And he's letting Peter say out loud the thing he was too afraid to say that night. 3 denials in the dark. 3 declarations of love in the light. Jesus is still for Peter. And he wants him to know that. Jesus is not interested in shaming Peter here. He's interested in healing him. And he knows that real healing doesn't happen by pretending the wound isn't there. It happens by going back to it and rewriting the ending. Now, you might be listening to this and thinking, okay, that's a moving story. But does that one word, anthrakia, really carry all that weight? Am I reading too much into a fire? That is a fair question. And I want to honor it because this is a show for people who ask fair questions. Here's what I'd say. On its own, one word doesn't prove anything. But the Gospel of John is famous among scholars for being a deeply intentional piece of writing. John doesn't waste words. He chooses small details and he lets them carry enormous meaning. He's the kind of writer where the things that look like background are often the whole point. In this particular detail, a rare word used only twice in the entire New Testament, both times with the same person, at the 2 most pivotal moments of that person's story, that is exactly the kind of fingerprint a careful writer leaves on purpose. You're not imagining it. You're noticing it. There's a difference. And noticing it is what changes everything. I think this little fire opens up something much bigger. Most of us, when we think about our failures, think the goal is to move past them, to get distance, to never have to smell that smoke again. And then here comes Jesus, doing something almost no one expects. He builds the fire himself. He invites Peter to breakfast, and he leads him gently, deliberately, right back into the memory, not to trap him there, but to free him from it. The place of Peter's worst failure becomes the place of his restoration. The same fire that witnessed the denial now warms the breakfast where he's given his calling back. Because right after this, Jesus tells Peter, "Follow me." The same words he used with Peter in the very beginning when he called him as his disciple, as if to say, we're starting again. The failure didn't end the story. The redemptive charcoal fire is how John will end his biography of Jesus. What a way to wrap it up. Telling his readers and us that God is a God of second chances, of fifth chances, of 500th chances. Failure was not final for Peter, nor is it for you, for me. As long as we're still breathing, God's offering us another chance. That's the kind of thing you only catch when you know what the word meant and where else it shows up, and what a charcoal fire would have stirred in a man who'd stood beside one on one of the worst nights of his life. That's what this whole show is about. The Bible is full of moments like this. Moments where one detail, understood in its world, cracks the whole thing open and floods it with meaning you never knew was there. A charcoal fire, Anthrakia. 2 appearances. 1 restored man. Now it makes sense. If something in this story landed for you, if you felt that turn from the courtyard to the beach, I'd love for you to come back next week, because there's a whole world like this waiting in the text, and we're just getting started. Wherever you are, whatever you believe or don't believe, you're welcome here. God can handle your questions. This is the place for them.